Welcome everyone. This is Nichelle Anderson. I'm your host for my podcast show, Nichelle Anderson Short Stories and Beyond. Thank you so much for joining me today. And today I'm going to focus on the launch of my new comic book series that focus on MOLIAE. Okay? I'm so excited. Thank you so much for following my podcast. I do ask for you to share it with someone else so they can follow as well. And in this regard, we're going to focus today on the release, on the launch of that, and what's it all about, what can you expect, and where do we go from here. So without further ado, thank you so much for joining my podcast show, Nichelle Anderson Short Stories and Beyond. This is my 5th season, and my season starts in September and it ends the following year in May. So this is my premiere month, and what better way to come up with something new, something different, something fresh. I always got something going on, and those that follow me that know that. And this particular comic book series, the first one out the gate, volume 1, first edition, is A Deal is Made in the Cosmos. So we're going to talk more about that. Let's just cover over other things about my production that started with my book, Mitsrayim, a Memoir of a Past Life in Ancient Egypt. That was written over 20 years ago. I always had the dream when I wrote that book for it to be a feature film. I haven't gotten that opportunity yet. I definitely need sufficient funding for that and a team as well. So if you're interested in helping that dream come to life, please check out the website that's tied to this podcast. It ties to the book that started it all for me on the path of being a writer. And that website is MOLIAE.com. So definitely check that out. I also, by the way, had expanded this brand of MOLIAE to have MOLIAE Beauty. It's it's luxury healing body oil. So the best of the best. Check that out. It's at MOLIAEBeauty.com. There's always some type of promo discounts there when you check out the website and support the production and my dream for it to be a feature film. So with the title of my book, I made it a theatrical production, and that was entitled Moments of Love in Ancient Egypt, because my book, through the heart of it, is about true love. It's about following your true love. It's about choices and family and how you learn or how you choose not to learn and the replication of that. And it's about a journey. So for that, I titled it Moments of Love in Ancient Egypt. So if you just use the first letter of each of that, it becomes MOLIAE, MOLIAE, all for my book. And the theatrical production, Moments of Love in Ancient Egypt, expanded into this podcast 5 years ago. So this is my 5th year of podcasting, and I really enjoy storytelling. I enjoy podcasting. You have to be dedicated with it, all that goes with it, but I like it overall because I'm able to, in the meantime of getting the funds that I need and the time and all of the resources, I'm able to still do what I love and what I was called to do. My purpose is to write. I'm able to keep it going, and podcast is one of those means to do that. And the other means that I enjoy is just having a conversation and learning from other people. And when I do have interviews or have people over, it's good. It's living. It's great. So I do enjoy it. So at any rate, let's go over a couple of things. MOLIAE is on TikTok, so please follow us on TikTok. That's at MOLIAE22. Follow us, share it. We also are on Twitter. That's twitter.com/MOLIAE. We're on Instagram. Handle ID MOLIAE 8. And then for MOLIAE Beauty, our beauty on the beauty line that I created, which you got to check out. It's for kings and queens, especially the King in Me collection. So definitely check that out. Let me go to MOLIAEBeauty.com. You can find us on Instagram, MOLIAE Beauty 8. You can follow us on Twitter. I think it's Twitter.com/MOLIAE B. And then on Facebook, you can, of course, just type in MOLIAE or Moments of Love in Ancient Egypt, or just MOLIAE Facebook. And then our beauty line, and it's for men and women, healing body oils. So we got frankincense, sandalwood in there, argan oil, the best of the best to get that healing of the skin. All right. So you can also find MOLIAE Beauty on Facebook as well. All right, so we got that out the way. I'm so excited. The first opening of my season, I did a MOLIAE short story, which is about moments of love, right? So go check that out, download it, and follow the podcast. As now, fast forward to the 5th year, I'm on Podbean, not on Spreaker anymore. So definitely follow. I lost all my following stats when I moved to Podbean, but it was an upgrade, trust me. And definitely follow me on Podbean here, okay? All right, so let's talk about the launch of my comic book series. And basically what this series is going to be dealing with King Milan and Queen Ha and all the other, things that goes with it. The politics and the drama and the sabotage and the not sabotage and coming back, all of that. It's still on the timeline before the birth of Princess Amina. Now, my book, Mitsrayim, a memoir of a past life in ancient Egypt, is from my perspective of writing my journal through the eyes of a princess, in a sense of telling this what's going on. So, of course, that means Princess Amina is on the scene. And the podcast series is before that time. So, it's before. Now, I already say that Queen Hagar is still pregnant in the podcast series as of the 5th year. I know. When she's going to give birth. So it hasn't been revealed that that's actually Princess Amina. I'm just keeping it on down low right now, secret, but you'll find out later. For right now, I like it. She's still pregnant. Her first trimester, maybe her first month. So there's a lot happened in 5 years. But she's still pregnant when I do my podcast, short stories. But the comic book series, it's before the war, because in episode 1 of my podcast series, before the time of Princess Amina, I set the mark. It's before that time. She's not on the scene, Amina, and Queen Hagar opens that scene. By part 2, episode 2, you find out she's pregnant. You find out that King Milan has been hurt, so there's been some type of battle, and that's when it's revealed that she's pregnant. By the second episode, second or third. Anyway, the comic book series that I'm launching today is really before that. So that means the battle has not started. I'm giving this away, but so you can kind of really put it together to know, understand, and put the pieces together, especially those that has been following my journey, and I'm sharing you my stories here. So the comic book series is before that. And it's a lot. I feel it's a whole bunch of stuff. That's why she hasn't gave birth yet in the podcast series, because it's like, man, it's a lot to move on before we get to that point, the timeline of the book where Princess Amina is on the scene. And instead is to focus on before that, because it's a lot of things that I would love to share with you that are interested in my stories, in my story of MOLIAE, of Mitsrayim. And so the comic book series deal with this particular deal. That's the name of the volume edition 1 that I'm releasing, entitled "The Deal Was Made in the Cosmos." So with that retrospect, it's before the big battle that on my podcast, when I did episode 1, is from the time frame that the battle had ended. And in that battle, King Milan was severely hurt. Queen Hagar had to take full rulership as the only authority in ancient Mitsrayim, ancient Egypt. General Tulkan, as the father of General Datar, is missing from the battle, right? Echo, the Orion, is still on the scene, and he calls, or it was trickled down, did this and that I think by episode 1, King Milan, took care of Echo. I don't want to get too deep in the podcast, but I'm trying to kind of put the pieces together for those that have been following me and like, oh, okay, it'll make, everything's clicking so you don't get lost. Because that's another reason why, I don't know if you heard my previous recordings about I had trusted a mentor that kind of led me astray in that sense of telling me to focus on the play, which when I wrote the book, everything in me kept saying, this is a movie. This is a movie. That's how I seen the images. That's how I felt it. And that's how I reinforced feeling that energy when I wrote it. Those paragraphs and those pages, and organized it and went back to the title. It was all a movie that it should be, right? And anyhow, the comic book series is before the confrontation. So you're going to learn more about what happened and this and that. So to do that, in this particular one, the title of the deal is made in the cosmos. You're going to be, in the sense, finding out the deal was made. It was supposed to provide a galactical deal of a treaty between any outsiders entering this star cancellation. where the planets they're in particular Tamat. Tamat is another name that we call Earth in ancient times, and that those entering must abide by the universal law and get clearance through the kingship of those Anantabao Kuni that I'm calling. And you could just say the descendants from Subna down to the knowledge of what we call Egypt today, and or Kemet or what have you. And back then they was called kings, not pharaoh. Pharaoh was a later word used in the language, but basically King Milan. So people that was dominant in royalty was called kings. And so some of the returning characters that you're going to find in the comic book series is going to be, of course, General Hani of the senior member of the Council of Orion, Echo, remember, because before the battle that occurred, right? And then, of course, Nentu, Lanko, all those from the Orion skies, the Orion constellation. And then you have General Tuckan, as I said, the father, but he was the actual general of all Egypt, but he got hurt and kidnapped or what have you, and then that's where his son rose into his leadership and his position in the podcast series. And I think that happened by episode 6 or 7, I think in season 1 that occurred. Correct me if I'm wrong, but nevertheless. And so all those people are going to come about. Ezra's going to be there, and stuff like that. So with this retrospect, and Sanel is an African tribe leader, and his brothers, and how did they all got together and correlate and collaborate with the Orions, which at that time Echo was the main person that's supposed to organize this division against Mitsrayim, right? What is their star? Why do they want their star? How did they got close? I'm talking about the Orions, and that's Echo, Nentu, and Lanko. How did Nentu found out about that? All that, in retrospect, is going to be tapping into that before the whole time frame of episode 1. Basically, you could take it away from the comic book series would be about. So with that, we're going to find out other things, and how when General Hani, the head person of the senior council of Hawaiian, decided, and I was in season 3, decided to come down and rescue Echo, risk it all. He violated what is going on in this volume 1 of my comic book series. That was the law that King Milan referenced to Ezra in season 3. Oh no, he did not decide to do that. Okay, that's fine. We're going to take care of this. And he went to go track down Hani that was trying to escape out of this orbit back to Hawaiian. And this is where you get season 3. It was based on this law coming in the comic book series. So nonetheless, you have that. It's going to definitely be some, also there's not all the politics and the territory and the fighting. It's going to be some romance, because that's basically what I felt that my book is about. It's about true love, finding your true love, coming to terms with that, of how we learn to love one another and grow. And in the theatrical production, Moments of Love in Ancient Egypt, between King Milan and Queen Hagar is what we're going to be focusing on, because Princess Ami is not born yet, and Princess Hannah, she's not at that age that she's going to find her true love, which you do find out who her true love is. It's not fully revealed in any of my websodes that I did or so forth. We didn't get to that point yet. But you're going to get some hints when we get further into my podcast timeline, and as well as the comic books later on. So anyway, we talked about that. Now let's talk about the release of this. So the comic book release for the launch day is going to be a free edition eventually soon, where you're going to get let me just put it this way. It's going to be a paid edition to get like the full book releases, volume releases, whereas I might release, of course, a free it's going to be like a clip it or a snippet of it, I guess you could say it. And you can go to Webtoons to get the free link to see that. And then the full book, and that's going to help monetarize to fund my dream to turn my book into a movie. And I know a lot of people say, oh, this and this, and they can about theirs, but I also want to just kind of plug on my production. It's going to be the production that is going to move people, encourage people. It's positive energy. And I hope that you will consider supporting my dream and purchase the comic book that is releasing today. And definitely check out our webtoons. Follow us on webtoons. It's going to be, I think it's MOLIAE. I'll follow up that on the link where you can go to our webtoons page and follow us there, and like, comment, and share. But yeah, the comic book series mainly will be a paid subscription, where I will be releasing like a snippet or image or two where you'll get a sense of what that particular volume, that edition, or that episode is about, and of course a link to encourage you to purchase the full book, the full volume of that release there, of that episode. So that's that. I'm planning on having a live show. The goal is to have it tonight or by this Thursday. You're definitely by now have a preview of when that will be. Check the bottom description for the link to that, and I see you there, and I see you in my next episode, and I hope to hear and see you reading my comic book. Take a picture on one of our social media platforms, tag MOLIAE, and who knows, you might win something wonderful. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for joining with my podcast, my another season year, and thank you for your support. Thank you.